Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 27. Understanding Material Nature. Text 20. Yes, text 20. Kvachit tattva vamarshena nivrittam bayam ulbanam anivritta nimittatvat puna pratyavatishtate kvachit tattva vamarshena nivrittam bhayam ulbanam anivritta nimittatvat puna pratyavatishtate kvachit tattva vimarthena nivrittam bhayam ulbanam anivritta nimittatvat puna pratyavatishtate.
Kvachit tattva vamarshena nivrittam bhayam ulbanam anivritta nimittatvat puna pratyavatishtate.
Kvachit tattva vamarshena nivrittam bhayam ulbanam anivritta nimittatvat punaha pratyavatishtate.
Vaishnavis. Kvachit, in a certain case, tattva, the fundamental principles of amarshena, by reflecting upon, nivrittam, avoided, bayam, fear, ulbanam, great, anivritta, not ceased, nimittatvat, since the cause, puna, again, pratyavatishtate, it appears. Translation: even if the great fear of bondage is avoided by mental speculation and inquiry into the fundamental principles, it may still appear again, since its cause has not ceased. Purport: material bondage is caused by putting oneself under the control of matter because of the false ego of lording it over material nature. Bhagavad Gita states, Iccha dvesha samuttena. Two kinds of propensities arise in the living entity. One propensity is iccha, which means desire to lord it over material nature or to be as great as the Supreme Lord. Everyone desires to be the greatest personality in this material world. Dvesha means envy, When one becomes envious of Krishna or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one thinks, why should Krishna be the all-in-all? I'm as good as Krishna. These two items, desire to be the Lord and envy of the Lord, are the beginning cause of material bondage. As long as a philosopher, salvationist, or voidist has some desire to be supreme, to be everything, or to deny the existence of God, the cause remains, and there is no question of his liberation. Devahuti very intelligently says, one may theoretically analyze and say that by knowledge he has become freed, but actually, as long as the cause exists, he is not free. Bhagavad Gita confirms that after performing such speculative activities for many, many births, when one actually comes to his real consciousness and surrenders unto the Supreme Lord, Krishna, then the fulfillment of his research in knowledge is actually achieved. There is a gulf of difference between theoretical freedom and actual freedom from material bondage. The Bhagavatam says that if one gives up the auspicious path of devotional service and simply tries to know things by speculation, one wastes his valuable time. Klishyanti e kevala bodha labdaye. The result of such a labor of love is simply labor. There is no result. There is no other result. The labor of speculation is ended only by exhaustion. The example is given here is that there is no benefit in husking the skin of an empty patty. The rice is already gone. Similarly, simply by the speculative process, one cannot be freed from material bondage, for the cause still exists. One has to nullify the cause, and then the effect will be nullified. This is explained by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the following verses. Translation again. Even if the great fear of bondage is avoided by mental speculation and inquiry into the fundamental principles, it may still appear again, since its cause has not ceased. Om Gana Chimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militang Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. This conversation between Devahuti and Lord Kapila is actually a very confidential discussion. And she is not referring to him anymore as her son. She's calling him Prabhu, Lord. She wants enlightenment. She's already stated before her husband, Kardama Muni, left home, she already stated, I wasted my time with you, Kardama Muni. I didn't understand your full glories. Now, please, show me the way of freedom from material existence. And Kardama Muni tells her, your son will enlighten you. So she doesn't want to waste any more time through bodily relationships. She recognizes the Supreme Personality of Godhead has appeared as my son. And I want to focus on him as the means for cutting the tree of material existence. He's the axe that can cut down the tree of material existence. And so she's asking very technical questions about the relationship between the Jivatma, the spirit soul, and material nature. These chapters, understanding material nature, fundamental principles of material nature, takes quite some scrutiny. The key is to understand, as Prabhupada begins the purport, material bondage is caused by putting oneself under the control of matter. Now you would say, well, what do you mean? I don't remember putting myself under the control of matter. All I want is to enjoy a bit, be happy. I didn't sign up for putting myself under the control of matter. But as soon as you want to enjoy as the enjoyer, you're placed under the control of the material energy. So that we're not innocent in our desires for enjoyment and happiness. Material enjoyment is such that as soon as you want it, you have to put yourself in the position of being the controller in very obvious ways or very subtle ways. So the psychology of the conditioned soul is being described in this purport, as stated in Bhagavad Gita, Ichcha Dvesha Samuttena Dvandva Mohena Bharata. First there is the desire to imitate Krishna, Ichcha. Now we might say, I don't remember wanting to imitate Krishna. I just want my little fair share of enjoyment. What's the problem? I just want my quota and a bit more. Why am I indicted for wanting to imitate Krishna? But you see, only Krishna is the absolute enjoyer. What does that mean? You may have read it so many times, but haven't thought deeply about what does it mean that Krishna is the absolute enjoyer. It means that everything that exists is for his pleasure. We try to imitate that, create a kingdom of pleasure and enjoyment where everything is keyed on our indulgences. But Krishna is the only absolute enjoyer. He's the only one who can say everything that exists, living entities, material energy, spiritual world, it's all for his pleasure. That's what it means to be the absolute enjoyer. And this is what we seek to imitate. So therefore, Prabhupada writes, our propensity is Ichcha, which means desire to lord it over material nature or to be as great as the Supreme Lord. Everyone desires to be the greatest personality in this material world. So there's Ichcha and Dvesha. Dvesha means envy. Why should Krishna be the all in all? Another meaning of Dvesha given by Srila Prabhupada is not simply enviousness of Krishna, but that envy results in rebelling against Krishna's instructions. Why should he tell me what to do? Who does Krishna think he is? Some kind of cosmic chaperone or cosmic law enforcer? So that's all part of the mentality of Dvesha. Now earlier, Devahuti she raises a very interesting point, which I've been meditating on. This is text 17. I'm sure Bhanu Swami, when he was here, if he covered this verse, it was very glorious. But I've been thinking very deeply about it, and I want to share some reflections with you. Sri Devahuti inquires, my dear Brahmana, she's referring to her son, but she knows he's more than just a son. My dear Brahmana, does material nature ever give release to the spirit soul? Since one is attracted to the other eternally, how is their separation possible? This is a very extraordinary question. Does material nature ever give release to the spirit soul? The spirit soul and the material energy are attracted to each other eternally. How to separate the two? This reminds us of a question that came up in the 11th canto in a discussion between Uddhava and Krishna. Uddhava is hearing from Krishna about what happens when we identify with the body and mind as a self. We may not think it's a big thing. First, by this misidentification of the body and mind as a self, it's the false knowledge. This seems technical, but it's very enlightening. The false knowledge of thinking and acting like you're the body and mind attracts the mode of passion. And the mode of passion brings about countless changing plans for trying to enjoy the material energy. If you want to know where it comes from, that's where it comes from. Rajaguna, the mode of passion. And the cause is the false knowledge of thinking I'm the body and mind. So once you have that false knowledge, it attracts the mode of passion. And then the mode of passion fills your mind with indefatigable plans for material enjoyment that are always changing. So Uddhava asks Krishna, people know, conditioned souls know that their activities for material enjoyment will lead to future distress. Why do they keep doing it? Why do they keep going on and on and on? We can look at ourselves and think, why am I still thinking I'm the enjoyer? Why is my mind still creating plans for material enjoyment, creating and changing them? So Uddhava wants to know. They can see, the conditioned souls can see the problems that will arise in the future. They've experienced it already in the past, but still they go on. So then he requests Krishna, I've heard that you've explained the yoga system fully to Sanak Kumar and his brothers. Can you repeat to me what was the discussion? And the discussion is very interesting. The four Kumars, headed by Sanak, questioned Brahma, their father, that since the material sense objects are always flowing in to the senses, and the senses are always flowing outward to the material sense objects, how can there be self-realization? Think about it, the spontaneous loop. Your senses are always flowing into sense objects, sight, sounds, touch sensations, fragrances, so on. And those sense objects, sight, sounds, fragrances, so on, they're flowing into your mind. Mind is considered a sense in bhakti knowledge. It's a loop. So this is very important for us because it can shed light on what is troubling us. We get down to the bare facts. My senses are always flowing into the sense objects, and the sense objects are always flowing in to the senses, headed by the mind. How can self-realization be possible? Because this loop is nonstop. So Sanaka, on behalf of the four Kumaras, asked this to Brahma, and Brahma was puzzled. How could Brahma be puzzled? He's the head of our sampradaya. What's going on? He couldn't answer. The Shastra says he was influenced by his passionate activities of creation. But in his bewilderment, during his bewilderment, the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared as Hamsa Avatar. So it's not that Brahma was left in doubt. Oh no, how do I answer that question? The senses flow into them. Sense objects, the sense objects flow into the senses and the mind. How can there be self-realization because of this loop? It just goes on and on and on. Hamsa Avatar appears to answer the question. And Hamsa Avatar explains, as long as you're on the material platform, there's no solution. You may be very smart, as this purport talks about. You're one of the rare persons who intellectually has figured out that you're not the body and that there is consciousness, which is primary, separate from matter, and there must be some all-pervading consciousness. You can figure that out with your material intelligence. It's rare in this day and age of Kali, but it can be done. That's why the Bhagavatam is dealing with that. So as we heard in the purport, Devahuti very intelligently says, one may theoretically analyze and say that by knowledge he has become freed, but actually as long as the cause exists, he is not free. So there will be persons, not simply who practice yoga for mystic powers, but there are persons who, rare though, can intuit that there must be something about me beyond the body. There must be an all-pervading spiritual energy. So Devahuti is pointing out that even if you figured it out, the great fear of bondage, you figured it out by mental speculation and philosophical inquiry into the fundamental principles, still bondage will appear again because you haven't erased the cause. And what is the cause? This desire to lord it over material nature, to be as great as Krishna, to rebel against the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These two items are the beginning cause of material bondage. So this is very instructive because Hamsa Avatar is going to underline to Brahma and the four Kumaras who are in the audience that you materially cannot escape this loop. There's only one way. You have to go above the loop and do something else. And what is that something else? Devotional service is not on that loop. Otherwise, you're doomed. You can be so smart and figure out that there's a spiritual energy. We're not the body. But unless you engage in devotional service, you can't escape material bondage. It'll pop up again. And interestingly, a few verses later, the Supreme Personality of Godhead will explain that even in deep sleep, wakefulness, dreaming, deep sleep, even in deep sleep or even after the cosmic annihilation, the impressions of your rebellion against Krishna still exist. So what's the process for extinguishing all those imprints of rebelling against the Supreme Personality of Godhead? It's only devotional service that thoroughly does the job. So that's what Hamsa Avatar is explaining to Brahma and the four Kumaras. You can't win as long as you're trapped in that loop. The senses flowing into the sense objects, the sense objects flowing into the mind and senses. It's going to go on and on and on. You have to get out of that loop and perform devotional service. There's no other alternative. So we may think our desires to enjoy material life are innocent. They're not excessive like others. But by hearing these verses, the core of our heart becomes cleansed. And we need to hear it again and again and again. Because another point that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kapila Dev, will raise in this chapter is that you have to hear for a long time. Generally, we think, all right, when I was a new bhakta, I heard it. I read Bhagavad Gita. I go to a few weekend retreats, some seminars, and yeah, I get my share of hearing. But the Shastra advocates hearing for a long time this message that I can't be the enjoyer. Now, hearing that you can't be the enjoyer repeatedly doesn't deny that you will ever have enjoyment. But we are indirect enjoyers. That's what the Bhakti Yoga process is getting us prepared for. Reality. Our enjoyment is participatory. We participate in Krishna's pleasure. We want to see Krishna's pleasure. And that, in that way, even without our worrying about it, we enjoy. So to make peace with this fact that we are not the independent enjoyers, only Krishna can independently enjoy. You can just analyze in your life. Whenever you try to enjoy, whenever you try for some material happiness, you got to work, you got to struggle. It doesn't just happen spontaneously. You're dealing with anxiety. Will the weather spoil my enjoyment? Will my body be healthy? On and on it goes. So many conditions for our so-called enjoyment. Will people treat me right? Will people understand me? Do I have enough money? Do I have enough energy? On and on it goes. So many conditions. That's why we're called conditioned souls. Everything we do is subject to condition. Krishna's enjoyment is unconditional. Everything is his energy. And he wants us, he's inviting us to participate in his pleasure. But we have this stubborn desire. I will be the independent enjoyer. And when you analyze this, it's so ridiculous. Our so-called enjoyment is so dependent on so many factors. And it's a very lonely struggle to be the enjoyer. I was just speaking yesterday at the Krishna Pod. In the UK, the government has found an astonishing result of their surveys, official government surveys. Who is the loneliest age group in the UK? And you could extrapolate and say this applies to other first world countries. You would think the loneliest age group are the elderly people. Their children have left home and don't care about them. In the Western world, that's the way it is. They've been divorced. They don't have their spouse. They're living all alone in their 60s and 70s and 80s. They must be the loneliest group. No. It's those between 18 and 30. What? Your prime youth, your most vibrant years, and you're in the loneliest age group? What's going on? Wasn't social media supposed to bring us all together? Create democracy because everyone could express their opinions? Make it so easy to connect with others? What happened? The dreams of material existence sooner or later just disintegrate. The loneliest age group, between 18 and 30 years old. So the quest to be the enjoyer is a very severe struggle with so much mental complexity, psychological complexity, so many unwanted outcomes, but we're determined. If only we could be so determined to be Krishna's servant. But unconsciously, what may be affecting us is that servant sounds so demeaning. Whereas to be the all in all, to be the supreme consciousness, sounds so inviting. Who wants to be a servant? We want our share of the enjoyment. We don't expect everything, but at least we want a significant portion. And somehow or other we think the ones who are screwing up the world are those others who want too much. We are not excessive in our own individual desires. We just barely got what we need. We probably could use a bit more. But the other people, they are the materialists. They want too much. The warlords destroying the world today, they're the ones. But ourselves, we just have a few hopes and dreams, that's all. But Devahuti and Kapila Dev are taking apart those so-called innocent hopes and dreams. And they advocate that you hear about this for a long time. Our process is Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Repeated hearing, on and on and on. Not one time hearing it. I got it. Yep, when I was New Bhakta, when I was in the Krishna Pod, we heard all that. Now, it's time for me to be happy in my own way, with sprinkle a bit of Krishna in, and what more can you want? Our process is repeated hearing for a long time. It means every day. Because this desire to be the independent enjoyer is so stubbornly built into us. So one final point about how the material energy works. It's actually not material nature itself that causes us the problem. It is the infection by the modes of material nature that cause the problem. Krishna can appear in the material nature with no problem, and his pure devotees can be as free as him, even though they are in material nature, they're unaffected. They're not contaminated by the modes of material nature. So this is what Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita. Karanam gunasangosya sadasad yoni janmasu. The cause is association with the modes of material nature. So we need to be more precise in pointing the finger at what should we blame. It's not Prakriti in of herself. It is how the modes of material nature contaminate us. So remember Uddhava talking with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the 11th canto. First, step one is to think you're the body and mind. Then that false knowledge leads you wide open for the mode of passion to invade. And the mode of passion invades your mind with unlimited material desires that are always changing. And you're in a state of constant agitation. I'll try this. I'll try that. This could be good. This could satisfy me. This could be nice. On and on and on it goes. And that's the story of our conditioned life, which ends only by engaging as a servant of Krishna in bhakti. You can't get away from that loop. Remember, the senses flowing into the sense objects flowing into the mind and senses. You can't escape. You've got to go out of the trap, out of the loop, to a higher level devotional service. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Yes. My friend from California. I last saw him in Southern California last year. Now he is here.
Thank you, Maharaj. I just have a small clarification. I feel like I made it pretty clear in the class, so when it comes to us enjoying, say, oh, I'm really enjoying this prashad, or I love hanging out with devotees and laughing, or even, I'm really glad I have this great opportunity at work, the view, the ocean, that's Krishna, this opportunity is Krishna. How do you, like, to me it's a little confusing, because like, how am I not enjoying, like, in any of that stuff? Like, it seems like I'm independently enjoying this prasadam, or like...
Don't worry, we're not going to persecute you for enjoying prasadam. We're not going to persecute you for enjoying the association of devotees. See, bhakti is a whole spectrum. It starts with, how is Krishna going to make me happy? An intelligent person thinks like that. As stated in the beginning of Nectar of Devotion, and I was speaking about it maybe last night at a Krishna pod, that anyone who engages in devotional service is the first-class expert in self-interest. So there's a whole range of purity in bhakti. And we don't criticize those in the beginning. Oh, you're enjoying prasad, Prabhu, you're out of it. We encourage you to relish the association of devotees, relish the prasad, and gradually you become more and more purified after a long time, and you start thinking, how can I eat for Krishna's pleasure? How can I treat devotees for Krishna's pleasure? That happens. So go on with your program. No problem. But the Bhagavatam and Prabhupada's purports will teach you higher levels. You have to start somewhere. I remember as a new devotee, early 1973, I saw that prayer in Nectar of Devotion. Anyone who performs devotional service is the first-class expert in self-interest. That, for a New Yorker, that really, yes, self-interest, first-class expert in self-interest. I memorized that verse immediately. That's where it's at, the first-class expert in self-interest. I figured it out. I found the best way for my self-interest. Soon I found out that the point is to satisfy Krishna. So go on. We're glad you're here. We're glad you're looking at the light of the sun and the moon and remembering Krishna. Prabhashmi Sasi Surya. But you've got a whole life ahead of you of, if you do it right, a whole life ahead of you of increasing bhakti, which means thinking more and more how everything can be for Krishna's pleasure. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Anything else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for the nice lecture. My question is in regards to the cause of our relationship with matter, anartha, so to speak. Is it that even as we advance in bhakti, that the cause remains? Let's say we're meditating on Krishna, or thinking about Krishna, or preaching, or doing Krishna conscious activities. Is it that just by being here and engaging in the world, there's still like a pinprick of like that cause, and then to overcome it is to tolerate it rather than like get rid of it?
No, we want to get rid of it. Depending on your devotional intensity, that's how much you want to get rid of it. You want to get to the root, and that's what Devahuti is doing with Lord Kapila Dev. She's getting right to the root. It's amazing, such, how do we say, in-depth analysis is happening between a mother and son.
Isn't the root also Krishna? The root of our material desire, the cause also Krishna? Like the root of desire.
We have our slight independence because we are part of Krishna, who's fully independent. So Krishna allows you to make your choices, even it may be the wrong choice. Because how can there be love that's forced? Krishna knows how to get the best love. The best love is voluntary. There has to be some other choice besides Krishna.
When Krishna glanced over the Mahatapa, wasn't that the root?
Your desire to enjoy material nature has created the material world. Krishna's desire, which is perfect, has created the spiritual world. You can look at it in that way. Sometimes the Shastra explains like that. The conditioned soul's desires to enjoy the material world has created the material world. Their desires for imitating Krishna, to be separate from Krishna, has created the material world. And the desires of Krishna in perfection have created the spiritual world. So you take your pick. Vaishnavis, any questions?
Thank you for the class, Maharaj. You mentioned about the solution is to be to engage in devotional service, and we hear from Shastra that we can also engage in the lower modes in devotional service, passion and ignorance. So one is practicing even after many years devotional service and just doing the bare minimum and ticking the boxes. And how do we deal with that when that person is causing disturbance to others in their service?
What was the last sentence?
How do we manage that when we understand the higher principle that everyone should engage in devotional service, but that person's causing disturbance?
That's a management question if someone's causing a disturbance in the society of devotees. But more than that, I can explain that, as Prabhupada said, we are not utopians. That means we realize we're dealing with a hospital. And in the hospital, there are patients who follow the doctor's instructions very strictly. There are some who sometimes do and sometimes not. And there's others who don't, even though they've been admitted to the hospital, they don't follow the doctor's instructions. That's the way it is. So you have to know how to get the best and most inspiring association. That's your responsibility. Because the reality of a hospital, and ISKCON is a hospital, it has a medical staff. The medical staff is trying to keep the contaminations down. But there will be, because it's a hospital, there will be germs. So you have to know how to avoid the germs. Another example I was giving at the Krishna Pod, in a classroom, you can remember going to high school, secondary school. There were the super goody-goody students at the front of the classroom. How many of you were like that? The teacher said jump, you said how high. And then you know what was going on in the back of the classroom. How many of you were in the back of the classroom fooling around, passing notes between the boys and girls? And then there's those in the middle. Sometimes they're going this way, influenced by the back of the classroom, sometimes influenced by those in the front of the classroom. That's the reality. So you have to learn how to cope with that and understand where you want to be. But we're not utopians. So, like when you first come to bhakti, oh, every devotee is pure, they're all shining. Remember when you thought that? And then the disappointment when you realize that, oh, this Prabhu's got a problem. So we have to be practical. We all go through that stage. I went through it too. All the devotees are pure devotees. Your first year or so in bhakti is like that. Everyone is so much more advanced. Oh, I'm so fallen. They're all so great. Then you realize that it's a mix. The devotee sangha is a mix. But you have the responsibility to get the best possible association. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Glory to Srila Prabhupada.